welcome to Majority Rules. This is season 1, episode 19. That's kind of crazy. This is a podcast about Mizzou Athletics Majority, which is Olympic sports athletes. As you can see, we have a very small group today. Excited to have Abigail back. It's been a while since we've had her on the show. We've only got to hear some of her updates via video later, so it'll be nice to interact with her. So I am your host. Oh my God, you'd think I could get through one freaking episode. I am your host, Karen Steger. I am the gymnastics, softball, and co-sport beat writer. This is what I get for not typing out my exact script at rockofnation.com and the Olympic sports manager. To my left is
me,
Matthew.
Yeah.
And I know your name. I was trying to, oh my God, I'm really having a hard time today. And as we go through our intros today, Matthew has a task he would like us to talk about. And I want to know what you're looking forward to most about being back in our lovely city of Columbia, Missouri. So let me put up this thing that Matthew would like us to.
Well, while you're doing that, I can kind of explain what it is. So,
yeah.
My home state, Illinois, is looking into redesigning the state flag because the current state flag is just the state seal on a white background, which this is looks like they put the state seal on a bed sheet, which when you look at it, yeah, it's pretty accurate. So there are 10 finalists, some of which are pretty good, some of which are very, very bad. And we will be choosing our favorite among these. And if you are watching and can see them and have a strong opinion about one of them, you can actually go and vote. I don't think you have to be an Illinois resident for the new state flag. I apologize to the folks listening on audio only because, you can't really see a flag when you're just listening to audio, but it is what it is. I'll start with my favorite thing about returning to Columbia. It's probably just reporting and watching sporting events in person again. It's not the same when you're not there, right? There's just an element that you lose. So we're going to be definitely excited about that. And the other one is winter weather. Not as bad as Chicago, and a little bit milder. So definitely will be nice. And then, every once in a while we get to freak out people by wearing shorts when it's like 55, because not a lot of people seem to do that in Columbia. So that's always fun. But anyways, my favorite, the one that I've voted for, is the one among the 10 finalists in the middle of the lower row with the green, yellow, blue. I actually have the descriptions for the flags pulled up. So it says there are 21 stripes because Illinois is the 21st state, reflects agricultural roots resembling rows of crops in the open prairie. 3 6-pointed stars represent the 3 regions of Illinois, northern, central, and southern. And their 18 points reference the state's founding in 1818. Simple, looks good, full of meaning. That's basically what you're looking for in a flag.
Nice. Thank you. Abigail, let's go to you now. What are you looking forward to most about being back in Columbia? And then give us your Illinois flag choice.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me back on the show. I had a really lovely break, and it was nice to step away for a minute just from all things sports. But I'm super excited to be back, and I'm excited to watch my favorite team compete in person and get to meet all of these athletes that I've written about for a year, but actually put a person to their name. And I'm excited because it's my last semester of college. So I'm just looking forward to embracing all the memories and soaking up the time with my friends and with Karen. So,
Excuse
yeah.
me, I need to.
I'm there with you. It'll be exciting. But as for my favorite Illinois flag, I love this question, Matthew. Thank you for this thought-provoking intro. I would say number 3, that has the silhouette of the Lincoln, his side portfolio or side profile. I think that's really cool. And I visited the Lincoln Museum in Springfield growing up. I love the president. The presidential libraries are so cool. And I think that memory just comes to mind when I see that flag. So,
Abigail, can you tell what the outline in red is?
Oh, I am seeing in the negative space, the red is creating the state outline. So that's, that's double cool.
Oh, what?
I didn't know that immediately, though. Yeah, that is really cool.
Well, and it took me until you said it when we were talking earlier before recording about that being Lincoln's profile. And then I was like, oh, that is what that is. That's super cool.
This one is also kind of designed partly based off of the French flag, with obviously, similar color profile, and you have the vertical separations there. The white just sticks out to me because it's such a weird shape, because it's between the two silhouettes, and it's a very odd. Usually on flags, you'll have like the clear vertical lines, horizontal lines. So that would definitely be something very different.
Yeah, I like that one. And then I'll say that besides that one, initially, I think my favorite one is the one in the top left with the white eye. I don't know why, but my eye just kind of went to it. So I kind of like that one too. The eye kind of reminds me of one of the columns. I will say I am confused by the butterfly, despite the fact that Matthew, you said that is the state insect.
That is a monarch butterfly, which is apparently the state butterfly of Illinois. I don't know why we have a state
butterfly. I know.
It's
wildly specific.
I basically have only heard of, 2 or 3 different butterflies, so I don't know why we needed to choose one specifically, but
it doesn't really scream Illinois.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I honestly had no clue that butterfly until now. I knew that popcorn is like the official snack of Illinois, because outside of Abigail's home state of Iowa, Illinois is the second highest producer of corn in the United States. But I had no clue about the butterfly thing. So yeah, that doesn't really make sense.
Fun facts. Matthew, you can always be counted on for some fun facts.
I worked with somebody who was like part of the leadership of the Illinois FFA for a couple of years. So
gotcha. And then I guess I can answer the question too about what I was looking forward to the most about being back in Columbia, despite the fact that I live here all the time. I mean, I was gone for like almost 2 weeks in Florida, and I, like Matthew, though I didn't really miss very many sporting events, I miss being back here and being able to watch my teams right in front of my eyes. I mean, I did almost miss the South Carolina game due to some flight troubles that were partially my own doing. But I made it back. So, and I was really happy about it, because that was just going to make the day even worse than it already was if I had missed making it. Like, my whole reason for coming back on January 2nd was so that I could go watch the South Carolina game and see my idol, Dawn Staley. So if I had missed that, I would have been real angry. So thank you guys. Let's get started with some in-season sports updates, and we will start with wrestling which is not going well still, Matthew.
Yep. So since we last talked, Mizzou with a dual meet against another top 25 opponent in Stanford. It does not go well. The drought continues for the Tigers. They lose to Stanford 27-15. Stanford ranked 15th in the country. The Tigers fall to 2-7 in dual meets on the year. That is the program's worst start through 9 duels since the 1970-71 season, when they also began with a 2-7 record under head coach Hap Whitney. Mizzou finished that season 5-9-1 and placed 6th at the Big 8 championships. From what I could tell, those are the tied for the second worst start in program history. The worst start in program history wasn't through 9 duels because there were only 7 that year, but that was when Mizzou went 0-7 in 1959-60 under head coach Marshall Estepy. That was the program's first year of competition after being revived for the first time since 1936-37. So basically, this is a historically bad year, and there are a number of factors for that. We've talked about the wide number of injuries. They've had a really tough schedule, 7 top 25 opponents, and they've also just had some underwhelming performances from starters who have returned, starters who have stepped up into the lineup. They haven't gotten the performances they've needed from a lot of these guys, and that combination has just proved absolutely disastrous for this season. And it's looking like the Tigers, if they can't get some of these guys healthy, are going to have one of the worst seasons in a very long time. Nothing really matters until Big 12 championships and the NCAA championships, right? At the end of the year, what really matters is where you placed in conference, where you placed at the national tournament. Nobody's really going to remember your dual meet record, but
we will.
It certainly helps with seeding for the conference tournaments and really kind of informs, right, the national seeding for the tournament, which will impact how easy of a path you have. So does it matter? It still does. It doesn't matter as much as the other things, but it has an impact. And the longer that the Tigers continue through these struggles, the worse it's going to get. Getting into the meet, Mizzou started with a 6-0 lead. Stanford, their wrestler,
so promising,
was injured, so Stanford forfeited the match at 125 pounds, giving an automatic 6 points to Mizzou. And then Cade Moore, we've talked about it all year, still without a win in a dual meet, has not looked the same, and has looked like he just doesn't have as much endurance, as much stamina as he had last season. And that continues to be the case. Loses a 12-2 major decision. Kept it pretty close in the first 2 periods. Actually was not having a terrible match. In the third period, nearly scored a reversal to tie it, but then Knox gained the upper hand, scored a 4-point near fall and a 3-point near fall to get that major decision. Good news, though, Mizzou's 2 top wrestlers that are healthy right now, Josh Edmond, Colton Hawks, both securing victories. Josh Edmond, a 9-4 decision over Jason Miranda, really using the attacks that we've become accustomed to. That big double leg shot that he has, he used it effectively. He got 2 takedowns off of that. 149 pounds. Zeke Seltzer drops a 5-1 decision to EJ Parco. This one was close until the end when Parco kind of got a last-minute takedown to get that 5-1 decision. Jay Conway losing to 28th-ranked Grigor Chalakian in an 8-6 decision. Was 8-5 entering the third. Conway got a quick escape, got Chalakian to the mat, but couldn't finish the takedown. Conway continuing to struggle, not sure if he'll be able to reach the NCAA championships, right? They rank him 1 through 33. You have to be in the top 33 to reach the championships, and that's looking like it may be a struggle for him. Cam Steed at 165. Hunter Garvin gets the 8-3 decision over Joel Milan. No surprise there. Lorenzo Norman, 4th ranked, takes out the freshman Jake Stoffel with Keegan O'Toole injured at 174, 22-5 tech fall. No surprise there. The highlight of the match for Mizzou, Colton Hawks with a pin over Abraham Wojciechowicz of Stanford. And Hawks, the bad news, injured early in this match. Looked like he may have tweaked his knee. He took a while to walk around. He was kind of walking gingerly. He was able to continue, but it was really clear when Hawks was on his feet that he was basically only able to use one leg effectively. But he kind of negated that by just you having a lot of riding time. Through the first and second periods, he rode for the entire 2 minutes in the second period. Took a small lead into the third, and Wojciechowicz just continued to attack from neutral. Hawks just barely avoiding giving up the takedown. Wojciechowicz was in on a shot, but Hawks somehow won the scramble, and he ended up securing the pin. So really, it's incredible the fact that he was able to win this one, given the injury he was dealing with. Like I said, he was basically working off of one leg. And Wojciechowicz just continued to try to use that to his advantage. But Hawks really had a good game plan to minimize that. And eventually, when he got in that scramble, he found a way to win. He got a big pin and it pulled Mizzou within 3 points. But immediately after that, Nick Stemmet, 24th ranked, pins Jesse Cassatt in 3 minutes, 45 seconds. That clinches the win for Stanford. And then a high-scoring match to close it out at heavyweight. Peter Ming, Jarrett Stoner, both unranked. 11-10 decision for Ming. He had a really big comeback in the third period. Stoner dominant in the first two, and then can't get the job done, Ming, with 2 or 3 takedowns in the final period. And that was a kind of deflating end to the dual meet for that 27-15 score. Like I said, worst start since the 1970-71 season. The good news for the Tigers, they get a little bit of a reprieve. They face Utah Valley Friday night. Utah Valley,
I was wondering,
not the level of competition that the Tigers have been facing so far. Easily their most likely win in quite a while, ever since the Binghamton match back in late December at the Collegiate Duels, the one that they ended up winning narrowly. So this is one of the best shots that the team has of getting a win for the rest of the year. And if they can't, that is a really, really big red flag in a season that has had a lot of struggles. At this point, I think the biggest thing to watch for entering that duel is Colton Hawks healthy. Because already missing 5 starters, you cannot afford to lose a 6th starter. Not only that, but a guy who is a potential All-American, ranked 9th in the country, right? Top 8, reached the podium, top 8 are All-Americans. He's right in that conversation. He's been one of Mizzou's best wrestlers, maybe their second best wrestler this season. They cannot afford to have him out for a long period of time. That is going to be the biggest thing to watch in that duel.
So besides the Utah Valley one, well, first of all, I think now seeing the way it is with all these injuries, I'm sure that Brian Smith isn't too happy that the schedule is one of their hardest schedules ever.
Yeah, and you could kind of see the logic in it initially. You had a couple of seniors, right? Getting them tested, getting some of the young guys experience before heading into conference play. But those injuries just derailed everything. And you've seen guys like Jake Conway and Cade Moore, Logan Joffrey was returning, really have not stepped up. They have stayed stagnant or regressed in some ways. I think Conway has developed since last year, but it's pretty clear he doesn't seem to be the long-term future, at 157. And at this point, he's just fighting to reach the NCAA tournament. He's had a couple of decent wins, but whenever he goes up against top competition, he's usually outmatched. And even like we saw that match against a 28th ranked wrestler, who was a guy who is just hanging on right at the edge of that tournament. And he wasn't able to get the job done there. So Conway was arguably the biggest question mark entering the year and really hasn't done a lot, to be honest with you, to kind of allay those concerns. But some of the other issues have really been shocking. I mean, Cade Moore, like we talked about, was on a meteoric rise last year and looking like one of the best wrestlers in the country.
Yeah.
He gets injured. He has not looked remotely the same since then. And it's a question if he ever will get back to that point, even though it sounded like he was making a lot of progress during the summer. He was a highly anticipated wrestler, and it hasn't worked out. And then You look at a guy like Logan Joffrey, who it appears has been supplanted at this point by Zeke Seltzer. Joffrey was a guy ranked as high as, I believe, 10th in the country last year and was looking really good before that injury he had. And again, he has not looked the same. His offense hasn't been there, and just kind of recurring issues in terms of struggling on offense, guys who have regressed or stagnated in injuries. That was the issue last year in the second half, and those issues have only gotten worse this season.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matthew. Hopefully, next week after Utah State, you'll have some wins to report on that aren't just by medical forfeit. At least it's kind of sad that 6 of their 15 points came out of a medical forfeit.
Yeah. So there are 15 points. One of them was on a medical forfeit. One of them was on a pin. So 12 of the 15 were both 6-point victories. I did want to add one thing before we move on from wrestling, not Mizzou related, but big news in the world of wrestling. Women's wrestling, for the first time, is becoming an NCAA sanctioned sport. It was voted on today. It is going to be a NCAA sanctioned sport at the D1 level. They will vote on Division II and Division III on Friday. It's a sport that's been gaining a lot of steam at the college level recently. You see Iowa, they've been doing some big things, really competitive program. I think they got 9, 10, 11,000 at one of their duels last year. So really big news for that sport. Great news. And I think that you'll see an explosion in women's wrestling as a result in the next 5 to 10 years. Mizzou doesn't have a big club program there. I'm not sure if there is a club program or an intramural for women's wrestling at Mizzou. But, like Mizzou hockey, right? That's a big club program, not really anything like that for women's wrestling at Mizzou. But, if the Tigers ever decide to add programs in the future, which, of course, is a big question mark given the way that NCAA sports are going, women's wrestling could make a lot of sense. You have the men's program here that's had a lot of success, a lot of support over the years. Obviously, a lot of other fantastic women's programs at Mizzou, and you already have a lot of the infrastructure required because you already have that existing wrestling program and some other solid programs around the Midwest as well. So you'd have a high level of competition right by you. So I think that kind of all those pieces fit if they ever wanted to add a program. Like I said, I'm not sure if they ever will, given the way athletics is going.
But more likely to cut some programs than add any, to be honest.
Yeah, to be honest with you, far more likely to cut. But if they ever do add programs, it will be one to look out for because I think that there's a pretty logical fit there.
Yeah. Always about adding more women's sports to the mix, so sounds good to me. On to our next topic. Women's hoops. So you'll notice of the 3 of us, none of us are our esteemed women's hoops writers. But Quentin will be sending in a video update. And I have some notes from Dylan. And then if we want to talk about anything after that, we can. So since our last episode, Mizzou lost to Georgia on a buzzer beater 3, 74-72. That actually made me want to die watching it. Like, oh my God, I was screaming obscenities. I hope it didn't bother my neighbors. And they kept it close against Florida before having it blown open in the 4th, and they lost 93-67. So if you will remember on the last episode and in Dylan's hooping and hollering piece, we talked about how those were 2 possible wins for the Tigers. Georgia is not good. And Mizzou blew like a 14, 15 point lead and lost. And then Florida, I honestly didn't watch that game at all, which is why I wanted Dylan to give me notes because I couldn't report on it at all. It was on at the same time as gymnastics, and I had paid $10 to watch the gymnastics stream. And that was a better use of my time, honestly. So the Tigers are now, Dylan said, 0-4 in conference play and have lost 16 straight against SEC opponents. He wanted to point out that they are struggling specifically in fourth quarters. Have been outscored 52-25 in the last 2 fourth quarters, you guys. 52-25. Good God. And they are taking and making less 3-pointers than their opponents, which Mizzou that's supposed to be like what they hang their hats on, right? You know, like 3-point shooting. They take them and they make them, and that's their thing. Apparently, not so much anymore. He said they have taken less than 23s in each of their last 2 games, which limits opportunities for offensive explosions. He also said he's worried that they can't get out of transition, and they're being forced to work in the half court. They've only had 7 fast break points this week. On the bright side, one bright side, it was a great week for Ashton Judd, who had a combined 39 points between the 2 games. So good for her. Somebody's got to score. And he pointed out that according to Warren Nolan, Mizzou is now projected to finish 0-16 in SEC play. Rory asked about this last week, about what we thought the chances were of this happening. So she said she was very sorry for putting this out into the world. I don't think it's her fault.
And I think that I also had talked about that before. So if it's anybody's fault on this podcast, it would be mine.
I don't think it's our fault. Things are the way that they are. And that their best remaining chances to get some wins would be on the road against Arkansas. Now we know Arkansas is supposedly the worst team in the SEC. But then it's on the road. So y'all, I don't know. And he said Auburn on Sunday. What'd you say, Abigail?
Sorry, I interrupted. I got excited. I said I'm calling the LSU game. So I would just like to put it out in the world that you never know. Let's start, maybe that's going to be their most competitive matchup all season. I'm thinking maybe there's a huge upset.
Maybe.
I really assigned myself that game thinking maybe that would be a super fun back and forth, and I'm not sure that's really going to happen looking at the last 2 outcomes, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to be calling the Oklahoma game at home. I have
tomorrow's game?
I have no such illusions that there will be an upset taking place.
I'm not even sure I'm going to watch it.
It's okay. That's where it's helpful to have, we got the good news about this team is there are so many awesome stories and so many impressive women like off the court. And that's why I've loved following them all 4 years. So it helps when you're looking down the stretch and you're thinking some of those games might turn into some fourth quarter blowouts. You have those anecdotes and you got the grade point average and all the academic honors and they're very
you definitely have to prepare for
me
what other things you can talk about.
Me on a broadcast, you can probably imagine, like me in real life, I have a lot of useless info that I find interesting, and if I can find a way to fit it into the broadcast, I'm going to.
I love a fun fact.
Which makes life easier for blowout games. Like I called the Southern game, the home opener. And there was a player on Southern whose name was Diamond Hunter.
Okay. And
so she was listed on, like one of the basketball accounts had like all name teams. So she was listed on the NCAA women's basketball all name team. So I don't think she got into the game, unfortunately, but stuff like that.
Yeah. And you never know. We still have a long season left, and I think then it's important to start reevaluating, okay, what is the goal for the rest of the season? If it can't be winning in the SEC, well, then how do you develop some of these younger players? And what is your game by game objective? Is this where we're going to prioritize some transition offense, or we are going to crash every single board, or we're going to put up 33, whatever those individual objectives, it starts to frustrate me. And I'm sure the beat reporters who cover game after game after game, when it's like, well, if that ceiling isn't victory, then what else? Because the season it's far from over, and there's so many more learning opportunities for such a young team and some really good young talent that is just underdeveloped, in my opinion. So, how there's
you
so
have the
much
right
room for
opinion.
growth.
And I think the issue there is that's what they should be doing, but Robin Pinishin doesn't really have any incentive to do that, right? Because pretty much everybody knows at this point, right? We're all expecting a firing at the end of the year, and at this point,
it would just be not renewing her contract.
Not renewing it. But they're expecting that she's a lame duck head coach by this point, and is in theory right now fighting for her job. I think that it's long past that point right now, but in theory, for fighting for your job, you're going to do everything you can to get wins, and so development goes to the wayside. Although development has already been an issue in the first place during the Pinishin era. That's another conversation that we've had before on the podcast. But so basically, I think it feels like Pinishin goals are kind of the opposite of what the team should really be doing right now, focusing on right now. If you had a first-year head coach in a rebuild, absolutely that's what they should be doing. But, I think you have to worry a little bit about, is Pinishin going to do what's best for the team and for the long-term health of the program here, or focus on the short-term and kind of a last-ditch desperate attempt to ensure a contract renewal and a couple of more years?
I think she ultimately wants what's best for the team.
I would agree. I think
based on everything we know about her, I mean, her being around here as long as she has, I think she wants what's best for the team.
Yeah. And I mean, by all accounts, every indication has been she has been a phenomenal leader of the program. Just on the court hasn't gotten it done right. But I think there's just kind of that natural inclination of when you're fighting for your job, you're going to do everything to increase your chances of holding on to it. And so even if that's not something where you're intentionally trying to harm the team, does that end up kind of clashing with what would be best in the long term?
Or maybe it comes down to like risk taking a little bit, if I'm understanding you, Matthew, because I think player development honestly would help this team win some of the, like, you're not losing on a 3-point buzzer beater then. You have a little bit more court awareness. But I think you're right in that a coach who's maybe on their way out, likely on their way out, is perhaps a little more risk averse and a little less likely to take creative chances with rotation or offensive scheme or defensive looks or anything. So maybe that's what it boils down to. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on what this season could be. And if that's winless in the SEC, but there's a different metric of evaluating her or just the performance of some of these players, I think now is the time to find that.
Yeah. And I mean, for example, as kind of what I'm talking about, let's say it's midway through the third, you're down 15. If you're focusing on development, maybe that's the time to, go with some new lineups. Like you said, experiment with some different things, put the freshmen in, get people in uncomfortable situations and have them grow, as compared to another coach,
like what Dennis did last night with putting T.O. Barrett in at a spot
which paid off.
It very possibly could not have succeeded, and look what he did.
Yeah.
Where on the other hand, you could put in your starters again and try to go full throttle in a last-ditch attempt to get close and try to crawl back into that game, right? So I think it's just like the little things that you may see in game management, which can add up over a season, and that's really what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'd like to see these 5 starters go full throttle in a fourth quarter against an SEC opponent. I'm not sure we've seen that yet, or I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I believe it's in there. I'm a big
Well, and
advocate for this team's potential.
bought season tickets. I mean, knowing that it was probably not going to be a great season. So as long as the roads are drivable and there's not gymnastics on, I'll be there. So, yeah, it's just kind of Dylan's last thing was, "This isn't great," frowny face. That was his last note. Yeah. Kind of sad.
In 2023, Mizzou barely made the NCAA tournament and got eliminated pretty quickly. The following season's preseason poll, they were not ranked. Then, after doing super well last season, that included getting the 7th seed nationally and falling just short of the Women's College World Series, Mizzou is ranked 15th, even though they lost a lot of pieces from last year's team, like Lauren Krings, like Alex Honnold, like the awesome pair of New York middle infielders in Maddie Gallagher and Jenna Laird. So despite all of that, Mizzou, top 15 team in what's supposed to be a loaded SEC. I think there should be a lot of excitement heading into the season. I'm curious to see how the pitching rotation is going to shake out, especially with the loss of Krings and even somebody like Lily Witten, who I thought would be primed for a bigger role this season, at the very least in relief. And then there's a lot of reshuffling, both on the infield and in the outfield as well. So Mizzou, off to a pretty good start in terms of national recognition, ranked 15th Softball America's preseason poll. That's all I've got. Thank you for listening. QC out.
On to some happier things now that we've got the Debbie Downer sports out of the way. Let's talk about track and field, Abigail.
Super excited. The track and field program is back in competition. They hosted their first home meet of the season and also since 2020. The Alexis Jarrett Invitational kicked off, and Missouri, unsurprisingly, medaled in every single event but one that it competed in. The field was mostly regional competition, including UMKC, Columbia College, Central Methodist of Missouri, and SIUE. And overwhelmingly, the main headline was that their jumps crew and their weight throwers crew not only picked up where they left off last season, but made strides to open the season with a personal best career high, whether that's farthest throw or farthest jump, means that this off-season training cycle for the entire Missouri program has been intentional and exceptional. I was really blown away. Over 15 Tigers set personal bests across run, jump, and throw. So you are opening the season at the highest you've ever been. Like, I don't know how to put that in words to say that that means the off season. It would be like scoring a season high against an SEC conference opponent, like your best game you've ever had. And that's only the beginning. And we've known that. We knew that their jumps crew featured international talent, SEC medal talent, championship talent. We've known that their weight crew has All-Americans. So that's not surprising, but it was reassuring to see that that's where they started. To put a few names to the medals, Ethany Andre, triple jump, SEC triple jump champion, set a personal best.
School grad. I always like to throw that out there.
KMIZ reporter, host of the F It Up podcast. She's phenomenal. And she broke the Hearnes Center Fieldhouse record, which is ridiculous. She jumped 13.49 meters. Her mark is the second all-time, second only to Ariana Fisher, who she actually competed against, though Fisher is well outside of college. She's a Mizzou alum, so she was probably competing unaffiliated. Karen and I were a little confused about that. Still learning how all of this works. On the men's triple jump side, if you recall, our fantastic freshman Sterling Scott, well, he's now a special sophomore. He opened his sophomore season with another personal best. He is only one meet into his second season of his collegiate career and is already third all time in program history. Also, interestingly, he competed against Jonathan Seremes of France, who Karen and I both talked about. And Jonathan was a 2025 recruit. He's listed on Missouri's roster, but he did not compete under Missouri, nor was he scored for Missouri at all. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to talk to Coach Chomov about that, whether he's active or he's not able to compete. Maybe it was a licensing thing, but he's still active on their roster. So stay tuned.
How many other people competed? Like, was he an exhibition?
That's what I was wondering. But he won, and it said that Sterling took second, meaning that he must have scored.
It's a regional meet, but also we invite France.
I know. But also he's like a Missouri Tiger, and he's on the roster. So stay tuned. The good news is if and when he begins to be scored for Missouri, he's going to do incredibly well. He won the under 20 world championships, took bronze in the under 20 world champs back in 2018. So he's yet another example of the international recruiting power that this jumps team has had and will continue to have. We haven't even seen Carmen Bruce compete yet, and she's someone who will likely crack into the program all time yet. So super excited. And then Claudina Diaz, she was a 2023 NCAA high jump qualifier. And I wrote about her story at the beginning of last season. Unfortunately, she struggled with injuries and kept a very bright spirit, very refreshing perspective all season, but just did not have the season that she knew she was capable of because she was competing through injury. She cleared 1.81 meters in the high jump for the first time since 2023, which is only 0.04 off of her personal best. So to see her back and back to full strength that she knew she was capable of, it's really exciting when you start to meet these people and understand their stories and know who they are personally and know what they're working toward. So I feel like I've been talking a long time, but that's the jump squad. They're back.
Covering the Olympic sports is the best.
Yes. And the individual progress and scores and goals, yes, you have the whole team, but like we just talked about the women's basketball team, but it's like every single player in the track and field program has their own individual ability to win in a sense. I mean, it's comparing apples to oranges because it's such a different setup, one that I'm still familiarizing myself with, but so cool. Anyway, Sam Inez is back. He shaved 2 meters, like entire meter sticks. He didn't shave it off. He added that to his personal best farther, I suppose, to break the Missouri record, break into the record books. He is second all time. So he wasn't even in the top 10 list prior to this personal best. So that's super exciting. I could go on and on. Interestingly, the runners didn't compete most of their best distance contingent, especially on the men's side. That's okay. They've got 5 indoor meets. So you just do not want to be running the 5K and 3K and 15 all around, still waiting to introduce.
I don't want to run it once, Abigail, let alone
I know.
5
and
times.
On an indoor track, you're lapping it double. So, if you're running a 400 rather than just one lap, that's 2, all of that. That's just sounds terrible, but they're really enjoying it. But not only will we get to see our regular distance crew that we know and love, I just found out minutes before hopping on the podcast that Missouri just added 5 new distance runners to its roster, active as of Wednesday, who will get to compete, which is like ridiculously exciting because the distance crew could use, especially on the women's side, some to help out Rahel Brumel in the 3K, 5K, and 10K. Now, I looked up these personal bests and compared them to Missouri's all-time list, and a lot of them don't have comparable races because these are high school recruits who may have not competed in these events yet or competed on like non-comparable courses, that kind of thing, or they only competed in cross country. But let's still get excited. So Monica Wanjiku, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. She's from Kenya. She attended Gachi High School. Her 10K alternative converted time is 31:50:11. Right now, that would top the all-time top 10 list. She would be number 1 in Mizzou history. Carissa Schweitzer, for Olympian Carissa Schweitzer, leads at number 1 at 32 flat in her 10,000. Now, again, I don't know if Monica's ever ran a 10K. I'm not sure if that's her 5K time doubled. I don't know where they got that calculation. So we'll wait to see it believe it when we see it on a track. But let's get excited. And then Miriam Chipkuri is from Nakuru, Kenya. Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Her 5K alternative converted time would land her in the middle of the top 10 all-time list as well in Missouri history for the women's. So that would just add some star power immediately to the women's distance crew. And Rahel could use some training partners that are right up next to her. And the fact that they were recruited and get to start immediately is super, super exciting. And that's only 2 of the 5.
So will you be back in time for the meet this weekend?
I will not. I'm flying in Saturday.
Okay.
But I will report remotely as best I can. I'm actually going to go watch my sister who is competing Friday, not in Mizzou. But I will be back to
I guess I'll
report the last 3.
2 questions for Abigail.
Yes.
Number 1, have they ever fixed your sister's last name on the UNI website?
Yes, my mom sent an email after she listened to our show.
Yeah, last time was Klapatasukis.
Yeah.
For people who don't know. Number 2, you talked about first indoor meet they've hosted since 2020. When do you know was the last time they hosted an outdoor meet?
I do not know. The outdoor track, as I've heard, is
before COVID.
Not competition level, yeah.
I think it was right after they joined the SEC.
I'm not even sure it's 8 lane. From what I've heard from athletes who've competed, I've only seen pictures, but from the distance runners I've talked to on Mizzou's team, it's in worse shape than the indoor track was.
I think I vaguely remember reading that Mizzou hosted the SEC championships like the year after they joined the SEC.
For outdoor? Wow.
I think so.
I'll follow up on that because I am very curious.
Look it up, but I don't. Yeah, I think I don't know why I remember that and was like, wow, it's been a long time. That outdoor track is bad.
If they have any plans for replacing that track in the future.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I have to imagine, they've made the investment for indoor to get back to that competition level. I'm sure that's something that the staff would love to do, to host outdoor meets again as well.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mason Arneson, who was the former SID, had said last year that new track is removable. So should there ever be a new facility built, which at the time, I mean, Desiree was still here at the time, but he was under the impression that there would at some point be a new Hearnes, if you would. And then that could just go to that new place. But I don't know if this school cares about them anymore.
Yeah. It looks like the last outdoor meet they hosted was April 10th of 2021.
Oh,
according to Kenny Van
not as bad.
Far back.
And you're right, they hosted an SEC conference outdoor championship in 2013.
I did.
So that was right after they joined the conference, and they hosted a meet, in 2019. So it might be a better. I don't know. I can only speculate. I've asked the runners, and they have said that some runners have said it's in worse shape, but clearly not nearly as much. It must be at least regulation in that case.
I've been to 2 soccer games and it looked pretty bad, but it also was, I mean, like the soccer stadium looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
On the whole.
But everyone I talked to that ran, I texted a few of my friends on the team and was just asking about the indoor energy. And they said it's just so cool. Like it was so cool hearing so many fans around them and having it be loud again. So I'm really excited to experience that.
Yeah, I'm excited. You'll get to see it I'm going to try to get either Cal or Mike out there at least one time to get some photos. I think it'll just depend upon their class schedules, but it is on the photo grid assignment sheet. We'll just need to find out when that is and if anybody can go over there for there. But that would be nice to actually get some photos from our professional photographers and not our amateur ones.
Me.
I've missed.
Me with my
Hey,
phone at a cross country meet.
It is nothing to do with you, Abigail. I've been Karen Steger professional action phone photography this last month or so, and I've been trying real hard to make it look good, but it just is I cannot be compared to the professionals on staff.
So I do have one more question. I'm just looking at the indoor schedule now, and wow, they have a lot of invitationals.
Yes.
And oh wait, hold on. Sorry, my I just answered my own question. I saw 2 of them were listed under the same name, but they're back to back, so I'm sure it's part of the one big invitational. They're the Dr. Rick McGuire Invitational. So yeah, a lot of opportunities to go and see the indoor.
He's the positive psychology program head.
Oh, cool.
Or at least was.
Yeah, I am so excited. It'll be the first time I've ever watched any of them compete in person, aside from the distance team from cross country. So yeah, that'll be really cool.
So excited for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. What a good update.
Why? Thank you.
Now let's move on to gymnastics. So Mizzou took second in the Denver quad meet. I don't think many people saw it since you had to pay $9.99 to watch Midcoast Sports Plus, but me and Nate Salzman did. We shared a login for it, and we're happy to find out that it worked, that we could both watch it at the same time. So they took second behind Denver University, and probably were just one better beam score away from taking first. Should we be worried about the low scores thus far? No, we should not. It is alarming. It is a bit alarming. If you look at the score that Mizzou scored at this meet, which was 196.125, that is actually their lowest score since 2021. But in all actuality, with this new, very much tighter scoring evaluation that they are currently doing, that score alone, so if you don't even average it in with the 196.7 that they got the first meet, if this was the only meet that they had taken part in, the 196.125 would still put them at 16th in the country, which makes it not as alarming. They are, when you average the two scores together, 10th right now. Is that as good as they should be? No, but they will get there. So real quick, I'll go through each of their rotations. So they started, since they were an away team, they started on bars. At Beauty and the Beast, they were incredible on bars. This one was just so-so. It wasn't bad per se, but they were off on their landings. The handstands were a bit off. So like when you're looking at them doing uneven bars, they need to be within a 10-degree vertical. So if they are any more than that, that's what the judges are looking for. They'll get deductions. So watching back, probably almost everybody got at least one deduction for handstands, which the first meet, their handstands were tight. They were on point. Not as much this time. So that was a little iffy. But on the bright side, Mara looked fabulous in the anchor spot and got a 9.9. So she actually, Shannon said, went back to her old routine, which I didn't realize because I still don't know what the skills look like. So he was telling us in the press conference on Tuesday that while it's almost kind of like an ego thing, like the coaches want them to put the hardest skills out there as possible. But at some point, you have to take a step back and just look at it, and maybe doing a little bit easier skills is going to be what's better point-wise. So you may not be showing the most growth, but you are making a smarter decision by going with a bit of an easier routine. So the reason, it's not even that the routine is easy. Over the summer, they changed the code of points, and whatever some combination thing that she did, I don't even know what it is, they changed it to be worth less. Like, they changed the level of the skill. So she had been training a harder combination, and it just wasn't paying off. Like, she wasn't hitting it with the same grace as she was before. So I was like, oh yeah, she is so great. And then Nate was like, oh, that's because she's doing her old routine again. I was like, oh, well, still awesome. So that was really good. From there, they went to beam. Beam was a nightmare. It was like so many times last year. It made me quote Taylor Swift again, which I only save for my saddest of sad occurrences. Amari had a major wobble and then fell off the beam. Not great. That was in the 2 spot. Jessa got another chance. She fell last week. She did not fall this week, but she almost fell twice. So not great. She did save it and stay on the beam, but she still got a 9.5. Well, since Amari fell, they had to count the 9.5. Not good. What else? Amy Weir led off. Both Shannon and I both thought that she looked really good, but she did something real wonky on her dismount and was really bent over at the waist, and they took off a lot of points for that. So she only ended up with a 9.675, but she actually on the beam itself, her skills looked good. On the bright side, Helen looked amazing. Incredible. Flawless. Could not find a deduction. What score did she get? 9.875. What the hell? I do not understand how it's even possible that she got that. So my little group chat of me and Nate Salzman and Claire Billman, who works for College Gymnastics News, they looked over the routine and they're like, I wouldn't go lower than 9.925 on this. Well, how'd she get 9.875? That is rude. She deserved better. And if you compare her routine to other routines from that meet that received 9.9s, her routine was better. Very annoying. Very annoying. I will get off my soapbox about that now. So Shannon said on Tuesday that it is very likely that we will see some personnel changes come Friday. On the beam, I would expect probably Jessa's probably out for the time being. And I would think either Kennedy Griffin, who, while she wasn't great at black and gold, or while she wasn't great at beating the Beast, she did score 9.9 at black and gold. And I thought looked pretty good at beating the Beast, but they didn't give her connection score. So they said that there was too much time in between her elements, and you get docked points from your starting value when you don't connect them as quickly or in rapid succession or whatever it is. So I would expect it's either going to be her or freshman Olivia Kelly, who competed in an exhibition. She had a 9.775 and looked really good. So I could see either one of them are probably going to end up being in the lineup on Friday. Now, Shannon said he hasn't made any decisions for sure yet, but that's what I would guess. So despite this terrible beam performance, I think they got a 48.5, which is abysmal. Shannon said he still thinks the beam is probably their most improved event. We just haven't seen that yet. I was really happy about floor because I don't know how you can't be. They had 3 scores of 9-9 plus. Hannah Horton had a 9-9, and then both Jocelyn and Kennedy followed with 9-9 2-5s. Not this new judging system. No one's gotten a 10 yet, guys, in all of college gymnastics. So whereas they were throwing those things out like candy last year, not a single person has gotten a 10 yet. So the fact that Mizzou had 2 people get 9-9 2-5s is pretty freaking amazing. They are in pretty rare air right now. So their high score puts them 5th in the country. And if you look at that score individually, the 9-9 2-5, only 11 scores in the entire country have been higher than that. There's been some 9-9 5s and a couple 9-9 7-5s, mostly by Oklahoma and LSU, who still seems to get a bit overscored, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so floor, really awesome. Elise Tisler, who had been out with a hyperextended elbow, she is back in the floor lineup. Shannon said she did a watered down routine, but she scored a 9.875, so have at it with your watered down routine. I think she probably did a little bit of a watered down routine because she's not completely back from the injury yet. We noticed that she was doing a lot of her 2 tumbling passes were aerials, so your arms aren't touching the ground, which if you have a hyperextended elbow, that seems like that's probably the way to make that not bother you as much, is to limit the amount of time you are pushing off your arms. She is not back for vault yet. He expects her to be back next Sunday against Kentucky. They really need her back on vault because she's a 10.0 start value vault, and her high score is a 9.975. Tigers could really use that because for the second week in a row, the vault team scored sub 49. They actually scored this exact same score 2 weeks in a row, 48.975. Shannon said on Tuesday that he thought that the vaults actually looked like they were improved, but the scoring was tighter. So he said he actually sees some progress there, despite the fact that their scores don't look any different. Kira Burns was the only one who stuck the landing. But then she also piked down. So like her body, when she landed, her body was like turned down some. So she had lost some points on that. On the plus side, Kennedy did better in exhibition than she has in anything so far this year. So basically, I said my recap. I'm not really sure what this team's identity is right now. I feel like we haven't really gotten to know them quite yet. There's some inconsistencies there. They're now having to contend with the loss of Lauren McPherson, who was out for the season with an Achilles injury. So now we have 2 people with Achilles injuries out for this season, both of whom are very good vaulters and extremely good beamers. So Shannon said that one of their goals in the offseason was to do better to prepare for adversity. So they're prepared for this. He's got other people to step up, like Olivia Kelly, for instance, Abby Miller. There's so much depth on this team that now it's just like, they just got to keep it going. Like you're sad that Lauren's out for the season, but that doesn't diminish the team's potential. They have so much potential. So Friday they head to Oklahoma. Well, Thursday they're heading to Oklahoma. Friday is the meet against Oklahoma at 7:30. Oklahoma is the 6-time national champion. The last year they notably made a mess of themselves at nationals and didn't make it to the finals. They are supposedly on a redemption tour. How you can be on a redemption tour and act like you're an underdog when you've won the last 6 national championships is beyond me. But, whatever you need to do to keep your team going, I guess. Shannon's actually was excited that they're facing such a good team so early in the season because they can kind of compare what Oklahoma's doing to what they're doing and know what sort of adjustments that they need to make to get closer to Oklahoma. He's not expecting that they beat Oklahoma, but you never know. Maybe they have another performance like they did at Nationals, and that was, it could happen. You never know. He said that, so a lot of times it's really good if you've had a performance that isn't that great. And he did say, he did not think that Sunday's meet was good, that having a short break and just moving on and just getting right back at it is the best thing to do. So pretty excited about that. I will have a preview out probably Friday morning. I try to do a lineup prediction thing, but KJ Kindler, the Oklahoma coach, has only used 8 total gymnasts so far this season because they've had really big meets, their first 2 meets of the season. So it's whatever I predict is probably going to be wrong because I'm sure that they're going to put in some of the other people in there because their backups are people who could easily score 9 plus on any apparatus at any given day, because they just have an entire team filled with level 10 elite gymnasts and people who can just could even score a 10 on any given day, if they were giving this out yet this year. So we'll see. I'm super excited. There's a lot of season left. This is only the 3rd meet. Shannon sounded like he thinks this is going to be a good one. To be the best, you got to compete against the best, you guys. And the SEC is by far the best conference in the country. So we're almost done. We went over. Moving on to out-of-season sports real quick, softball. Mizzou is ranked 15th in Softball America's preseason rankings. I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by that. Seems a bit high for a team that lost Lauren Krings and 3 of their 4 top hitters, and then lost pitcher Lily Witten to Ole Miss in the fall. I am actually shocked that they are that high. Maybe it's to course correct for leaving them out. Last year, they do it seems like the preseason polls, they like to reward the teams that have name recognition. So maybe Mizzou's finally got some name recognition after last year. Who knows? Sierra Harrison was named number 28 in D1 softball 2025 preseason pitcher power rankings. That's a tongue twister. Preseason pitcher power rankings, number 28. And the countdown of the season opener is here. It is only 23 days away to the February 7th opening game versus Marshall in Clearwater. My parents are so excited because they're going to get to watch 2 weekends of softball because they're in Clearwater 2 weekends in a row, I think. So that's pretty cool. And then I will, at some point, remember that I need to finish my multi-part season preview that goes through their whole schedule. That's kind of a mental note to myself to get on that and actually finish it in the next 20-something days. And then finally, Matthew, baseball update. You said you could do it in 30 seconds. Go.
30 seconds to a minute, but top 25 out for college baseball. Mizzou, not surprisingly, not in it. but who was a lot of their opponents. 30 days away is the season, starting on February 14th in Caguas, Puerto Rico, against Penn State. Five of the 6 SEC teams in the top 10, Mizzou will play. They'll play 7 of the 9 in the top 25. 4 of their 5 SEC road series are against preseason top 10 teams. That's the most of any team in the SEC.
They're
Another
so
very, very tough schedule for Mizzou baseball. One of the toughest, if not the toughest, in the country.
Yay. Yay. So, well, that'll be nice for you, Matthew, though, you and Rory to get to cover that. Hopefully, like we were talking about earlier, if they're getting blown out by a team, you can think of other things to talk about. Some personal stories, anecdotes about players on the team. Let's get to know Carrick Jackson a bit more.
Yeah. No
whatever we can do.
There's room in the Rock M budget to send us to Puerto Rico to cover the team, is there?
I do not think so. I do not think so.
Well, you know what they say.
But
if you don't ask, right?
Good try. Good try.
Yeah. Can I throw some things in for the budget? We got some meets in California I would love to go to. If we're throwing out, I didn't realize we had a budget. This is exciting.
Well, then in that case, I'm going to go to all of the away gymnastics meets, and nationals and SEC championships. Like, if money is no object, let's just do it, guys. Let's just travel to our heart's content. Yeah. No, we don't have a budget. we don't. That's why the guys carpool too. To the away football games. Anyway, so we've reached the end of our show. This was a long one. Oh my God, how did this happen? It was the flag discussion. That's what it was. So, thanks for watching, guys. Give us all the reviews if they're 5 stars. Subscribe to RockM.Plus, our subscription service. It's only $5 a month. And follow us on all the socials. I am at Karen Steger. Abigail is at Abigail_clap with a K. I usually do yours last, but I got off track. And Matthew is at M_Gustafson27. The other guys aren't here, so we're not going to talk about any of them. Ha ha. So yeah, follow us on socials, read our content at Rock M Nation. Abigail has an interview coming out with Sprint's coach, which I'm sure is going to be amazing. And MIZ.
ZOU.
Matthew, that was terrible. MIZ, Matthew.
Well, I was about to say it, and then Abigail was muted, so I tried to wait for her to unmute and sync it up. It did not work.
No.
Try it again. MIZ.
ZOU.
Thank you so much. All right.
We'll try better next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.